Basics of Inquiry-Based Learning, prepared by Giuseppe Italiano, a professor of computer science at Lewis University in Rome, Italy. Inquiry-based learning is a research-based mode of student learning, in which educational activities reflect the active, critical, and analytic inquiry undertaken by researchers. Inquiry-based learning promotes the acquisition of new knowledge, abilities, and attitudes through the investigation of questions, problems, and issues using the ways and standards of inquiry. Accordingly, within this teaching approach, learning occurs through student-driven and instructor-guided investigations, which address unsolved real-world problems. As such, inquiry-based learning is founded upon a student-centered and self-directed approach, which stresses the responsibility of students in the learning process rather than that of teachers. To recap, here is a very brief roadmap of inquiry-based learning. The student is given problems that require additional research to be solved successfully. In such learning process, the student additionally takes an active role and responsibility in the learning process. According to the EBL methodology, the student initially connects in detail or deeply with the teaching unit and the problems he must solve during the learning. Then, he asks research questions and identifies various sources of knowledge on which he can find answers. Apart from classical sources of knowledge such as textbooks, the student is encouraged to use sources that include locating high-quality information on the web, searching the books and electronic journal databases. The next step is to evaluate the collected information and its synthesis into a coherent whole. The final part of the research process is communicating what has been learned and how it is learned. In a nutshell, inquiry-based learning is based on Humboldt's unity of research and teaching, in the name of a shared ground of advancing knowledge boundaries and a goal of contributing to the global common good. Learning, like research, is about paying attention to where the boundaries of knowledge are. They both entail critiquing the potential weaknesses in existing knowledge and seeking better insights and understandings in a spirit of perpetual discovery aimed at empowering societies. Inquiry-based learning, by fully realizing this unity of research and education, is not merely a short-term approach to curriculum design, but rather a learning technique which promotes space for a genuine critical dialogue within and across research groups and teaching teams. If diverse students are empowered to collaborate actively in research and inquiry at every level of their learning process, engaging others with their ideas and findings, both education and research will be able to contribute more effectively to the global common good. Inquiry-based learning is up to date with the post-truth era and workplace requirements. Being part of a research-rich culture benefits students by virtue of the intellectual depth experienced by engaging in any cutting-edge investigations and a range of skills associated with independent and collaborative inquiry. Speaking about benefits for students, here are some more. Inquiry-based learning allows students to raise important questions for still unsolved problems. Accordingly, inquiry-based learning lets students critically revise existing knowledge, gather and analyze data, and interpret a vast amount of evidence which spans different domains. Students also learn to adequately present findings to different audiences and to justify them through the rigor and accuracy typical of research methodologies. By performing all these tasks, students can improve their critical thinking and problem-solving skills, as well as their innovativeness, capability to interact and collaborate with others, to take initiatives and be perseverant in the face of obstacles and resistance. In addition, the active role played by the students in their learning process allows them to be more engaged and to develop some sort of love of learning and appreciation of concepts, which improve their academic achievements and learning outcomes, while promoting a constant spirit of inquiry. Lastly, synergies between research and learning make students increasingly comfortable with and able to make good decisions and judgments under conditions of uncertainty, as the inquiry-based learning has been proven to increase self-confidence and reduce anxiety, which is another of the possible drawbacks of distance learning. Fang developed an interesting framework to implement inquiry-based learning and achieve powerful knowledge, the connected curriculum. The connected curriculum is represented by a core principle and 6 associated dimensions. The core principle is that students at all levels of a curriculum can benefit in multiple ways by actively engaging in research and inquiry. In pedagogical terms, the premise of the connected curriculum is the need to offer students a research-based education in which structured opportunities are created for them to learn through research and active inquiry at every level of the curriculum. The 6 related dimensions are as follows. 1. Explicitly inviting students to connect with researchers and research as an integral part of their learning journey. 2. Building a through line of research activity into each program of study. 3. Empowering students to make connections across subjects and out to the world. 4. Connecting academic learning with workplace learning. 5. Educating students to produce outputs directed at an audience. And 6. Connecting students with each other across phases and with alumni. At the heart of the inquiry-based distance learning framework lies a combination of good subject, theoretical and methodological knowledge, and appropriate tools. The main efforts required to implement an effective inquiry-based distance learning methodology can be described along the following 2 directions: methodology and sources. First, the distance learning process should be built on the analysis of scientific references and papers, the very first milestone to develop a curiosity-driven approach. Secondly, research methods should be introduced, together with laboratories for practical applications. Research or problem-based projects conducted either in groups or individually, sometimes in partnership with external entities or practitioners from industry, have also to be included in the syllabi and require the analysis of paper case study, the interpretations of contents and data, the performance of research exercises and assignments, and the production of written and/or oral presentations of findings. The assessment methodology needs also to be revised. Students' performance in learning activities should be continuously assessed throughout the semester and should constitute the main component of their final grade, while the traditional final exam should account for a small percentage of their overall grade. Actors. The learning process in inquiry-based distance learning should not be on an individual basis, which may lead to a feeling of loneliness and isolation on the side of student. Rather, it must be fed and forged by human interactions, capable of empowering students to speak out as engaged members of a community at large. Inquiry-based distance programs should be founded on a collaborative approach to learning. Students are supposed to strengthen their relationship with both peers and with the faculty, and upheld continuous mutual interactions and dialogues. So fundamental in gaining a deeper understanding of theories and application, and in developing a sense of community belonging, which is especially important in distance learning. The main benefits of inquiry-based distance learning can be classified into two broad categories. The first refers to knowledge outcomes, namely the effects that inquiry-based learning produces on students' academic knowledge, skills, and competences. The second category refers to personal outcomes, namely students' personal characteristics and attitudes related to both the present and the future. Knowledge outcomes. Knowledge outcomes can be classified into three dimensions, each of which can be considered as being the result of the others. Scientific literacy. The first dimension is related to the understanding of the knowledge creation process. All the students should gain a deep understanding of what it means to research and how knowledge is produced. The very first knowledge outcome of inquiry-based learning is a complete and clear idea of all the steps involved in the knowledge production process. For example, students can be solicited to identify first some topics of interest, and then look for various academic references about both those specific topics and other neighboring topics, to understand related concepts and relationships between variables at stake. Then they can go deeper to identify the research gap that they wish to address, and therefore, on the basis of the found reference material, make some summaries with main points. Based on this, they can possibly analyze data, and from the data analysis and created some new knowledge. This way, students can acknowledge the need to follow a rigorous method to and generate and to master sound findings. The methodology and procedure to follow might not be easy, and knowledge gain may not be immediate. Yet, this is the main way to achieve satisfactory outcomes. Students can also acknowledge that investigations start from scratch and develop step by step through a trial, test, and learn procedure. A long process of reading is needed to gather information and spot a potential knowledge gap. There must always be room for doubts and questions around assumptions and hypotheses that are formulated as research activities go on. This curiosity-driven approach can be rewarded by the fact that there is always room for contradiction and denial within it. Lastly, with this approach, students can understand that research enables them to delve deeper into subjects and knowledge discoveries, and to put theoretical concepts into practice. On the one hand, this allows students to develop their own ideas on a cognitive level, but also on a mental level, because they broaden their horizons and form a line of thinking that is much more developed than what they might have gotten from just looking at a video or reading a book. Knowledge evaluation. The capacity to critically evaluate existing knowledge is an essential element in developing a powerful. By doing so, students can improve their knowledge evaluation skills. First of all, students can develop improved confidence in discriminating between and identifying the quality of different sources. This can also allow them to read things faster, to understand what is more important, what is less important, and to skim the information more effectively. This is especially crucial in distance learning, where students are empowered in planning some of their own learning activities. Being able to evaluate knowledge not only improves the overall understanding of a particular topic, but also constitutes a fundamental reference upon which students can build both their own opinions and future analysis. Knowledge creation and application. With the capacity to critically evaluate existing knowledge, students become able to produce and apply new knowledge. This can also result in developing proper communication skills. Students can also recognize that they are able to acquire the capacity to apply what they have learned in different contexts from the classical education framework. On the one hand, this trait is of paramount importance for becoming better citizens and having a positive impact on society and the world we live in. On the other hand, it allows students to flourish in the workplace, as jobs nowadays require a certain flexibility and a greater adaptability to unknown contexts. Personal outcomes. Students exposed to inquiry-based programs in distance learning can acknowledge not only a growth from an academic point of view, in terms of new specialized competences, hard skills, and pieces of knowledge acquired, but also from an individual perspective. Indeed, personal growth can be enabled by experiences this innovative approach to learning. Inquiry-based learning renders students increasingly comfortable with conditions of uncertainty. Learners that experience the knowledge creation process developed a more practical and pragmatic approach to uncomfortable situations. In addition, teamwork and dialogue can be the major catalysts of growth. In distance learning and teaching, some students and even educators seem to greatly underestimate group working, maybe because they had never truly experienced it. The continuous exchange of ideas and discussion really helps students to better develop a personal point of view. This helps them grow up, as by carefully listening to what others have to say, they can understand how to deal with certain situations. In particular, time pressure, critical time management activities, and challenges have the potential to award students with greater satisfaction and strengthen their self-confidence, motivating them to push on with activities and progress, which is one of the main drivers in distance learning. The content and methodologies used in inquiry-based distance learning can empower students to develop a new, more open-minded, curious mindset and clearer perspective on their future aspirations. By approaching previously untackled issues to creatively find an effective solution, students can develop problem-solving skills. With this approach, students gain the capability to approach problems, even when they do not have already a certain solution at hand. This strengthens their attitude to reason about several possible solutions to the same problem. Not through infallible knowledge, but through uncertainty, the exploration of new horizons and exchange with others, many students can build up a personal opinion to critically judge the world around them. Inquiry-based learning can equip students with alternative systems of thought which enable a beneficial process of critical thinking. One of the main challenges in implementing an inquiry-based distance learning methodology could be the adaptation time required by each student to integrate with the new learning method. Learning is a very complex process that requires deliberative spaces for thinking and knowledge adaptation. In inquiry-based distance learning, students may experience a radical change that involves some initial difficulties. A novice indeed may need more time to learn how to properly approach learning with a curiosity-driven approach, as well as how to absorb all the information needed in order to carry out a project. For this reason, Academic practice requires an active, persistent, and focused effort over an extended period of time, which enables novices to correctly adjust to the new setting. Distant students may perceive that adapting to a new inquiry-based approach is time-consuming and perhaps potentially destabilizing in nature, especially in cases where multiple simultaneous tasks and deadlines, such as lectures, midterms, teamworks, assignments, etc., can occur. Despite a strong initial impact, the presence of multiple deadlines can be crucial for gradual and continuous adaptation. Indeed, more demanding deadlines can be responsible for a step-by-step adjustment and for a stronger engagement in the learning process. For further learning, please review the following references. Thank you very much for your attention.